The fire is down to embers, and you're picking meat from your teeth when you notice something. Kale, the tall one who left with the hunting party at dawn, has been unusually quiet since he got back. His hands are still, his eyes fixed somewhere past the flames. He says the antelope got away, that the herd scattered before anyone got close enough for a clean throw. Everyone nods and goes back to eating, tired from a day that produced nothing. Except you saw him earlier, off behind the rocks on the walk back, chewing on something alone with his back turned, long before he ever rejoined the group at the tree line. You didn't say anything then. You kept walking, kept quiet, told yourself, maybe it was nothing. But now, sitting by the fire with the light dying down and the rest of the band settling in around you, you lean toward the woman beside you and whisper what you saw. That whisper is gossip. It feels small, almost embarrassing, the kind of thing you'd never admit to doing if someone asked you directly. But it might be one of the most important survival tools your species ever developed. More important in its own quiet way than fire or the spear, and definitely older than either of the excuses you'd give for doing it. Word moves through camp before the embers go fully cold. 2 people become 4. 4 become most of the band by the time everyone settles in to sleep. Nobody confronts Kale directly. Nobody raises their voice or throws a punch. Nobody needs to. The next morning, when meat gets divided, his portion is smaller, and no one quite meets his eyes. The next time a hunting party forms, the offer to join goes to someone else first, and Kale is left standing by the fire, unsure exactly why, only that something has shifted. Nothing was ever said to his face. Nobody organized anything. No council was called. No formal decision was made. It simply happened, the way water finds every low point in the ground without anyone directing it there. He just quietly stopped being trusted, because information about what he did traveled through the group faster than he could ever control it, faster than he even realized it was moving at all. Why would a habit that feels so petty, so small, whispering about someone behind their back, actually be one of the most important things holding a group of early humans together, more central to your survival than almost anything else you'd point to first? Psychologists have actually tested a version of this scenario directly, thousands of generations later. Researchers Matthew Feinberg, Rob Willer, and their colleagues ran experiments in 2012 where participants played cooperative group games, and some players had the option to act selfishly, taking more than their fair share while contributing less to the group. When other players were allowed to gossip, quietly warning each other about who had behaved selfishly in earlier rounds, cooperation across the whole group went up substantially. Groups that could gossip about cheaters ended up with far fewer cheaters, because reputation started to matter almost as much as the game itself. Feinberg and his colleagues even measured something else. The act of passing along a warning about a cheater made the person doing the warning feel better, physically calmer, heart rate measurably lower, as if the whisper itself was doing something for the whisperer, not just the group listening to it. That's almost exactly what happened to Kyle, played out in a laboratory instead of around a fire. Nobody had to fight him, punish him, or even mention what he'd done out loud. The information itself did the work. This is precisely the kind of pattern evolutionary psychologists Lita Cosmides and John Tooby have argued the human mind is unusually well built to track. Not just remembering facts about the world, but remembering specifically who can and can't be trusted, and updating that judgment the instant new information about someone's behavior reaches you, even secondhand. Cosmides and Tooby demonstrated this with a clever test called the Wason selection task, a logic puzzle that most people perform surprisingly poorly on when it's phrased as an abstract rule about letters and numbers, but reframe the exact same underlying logic as a question about who might be cheating, who took a benefit without meeting the obligation that came with it, and accuracy jumps dramatically across cultures, with no extra training required. Your mind isn't just generally logical, it's specifically, powerfully tuned to catch cheaters, as if some part of you has been running a quiet, constant background check on everyone you meet. long before you were ever consciously aware you were doing it, long before you were even born. Here's where the story gets bigger. Kyle's band was small, maybe 30 people, everyone visible to everyone else most days. Every face, every habit, already known by heart. You knew who flinched at loud noises, who shared food without being asked, who Kale was, and now, what Kale had done. 30 people is a number you can hold in your head without effort. Now picture that same band, generations later, pushed together with a neighboring group during a hard winter that killed too many to hunt safely alone. The following year, drought pushes another band into the same valley, and they stay. The fire you sit around at night grows wider, ringed by faces you don't fully recognize anymore, voices with accents slightly different from your own, children you've never watched grow up. Someone hands you dried meat at the edge of the group, and you have no idea whether they've always pulled their weight on a hunt or quietly taken more than their share for years, whether they're someone your grandmother would have trusted with her life or someone she'd have watched carefully. You can no longer personally witness who helped, who can be trusted with a favor, who lies, who lets others do the dangerous work while claiming an equal share of the reward. There are simply too many people now, and too few hours in a single day to watch them all directly, no matter how carefully you try. Every primate before your ancestors solved a version of this exact problem the same way: physical grooming. Chimpanzees and baboons spend hours a day picking through each other's fur, not just for hygiene, but to build and maintain trust. One relationship at a time, one grooming session at a time. Fingers moving through fur as a slow, deliberate signal that says, I am investing time in you specifically, and I expect you to remember it. It works, but it is desperately slow and it does not scale. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar, in research published in 1996, calculated exactly how far it scales before it breaks. Based on primate brain size and observed group sizes across dozens of species, Dunbar estimated that once a group grows past roughly 150 individuals, a number still cited today as Dunbar's number, grooming-based bonding simply runs out of hours in the day to maintain it. Do the math on your own life, and it holds up disturbingly well. You cannot groom 150 people one at a time, remembering each one's habits and debts and betrayals, and have any daylight left to actually hunt, gather, raise children, or survive the season. Dunbar's proposal is the twist this story has been building toward. Language, he argued, didn't evolve primarily to describe the physical world, to name rocks and rivers and animals, to say where the water is or which plants are safe to eat. Those uses came along too, but they weren't the main pressure driving something as costly and complicated as language into existence. Language evolved largely as a faster, far more efficient replacement for grooming, a way to maintain dozens of relationships at once instead of one at a time. By talking about people instead of touching them, you can gossip about 3 absent people in the time it takes to groom one person sitting in front of you, and unlike grooming, you can do it while your hands are busy with something else entirely, while you're cooking, walking, or repairing a tool. Dunbar didn't stop at theory. He sent researchers out to eavesdrop, recording what people actually talked about in offices, cafeterias, trains, and casual gatherings, and found that roughly 2/3 of everyday talk time is spent on social topics. Who did what? Who can be trusted? Who broke an agreement? Who's seeing whom? Who let the team down? Strip away the modern setting, the coffee cups and phone screens, and it's the same whisper that traveled through Kale's camp, just running at a much larger scale, dressed up as small talk. Here's where this stops being a story about a hunting party and starts being about your last group chat, your last coffee break, your last quiet conversation in a doorway after a meeting. You still live inside a version of Kale's problem every single day, whether you notice it or not. Your workplace, your friend group, your extended family, all of it is sized somewhere between the 30 people you could once know by heart and the 150 Dunbar calculated as the outer edge of what any human mind can track through direct experience alone. You cannot personally witness every decision your coworkers make, every promise your friends keep or break, every quiet unfairness that happens when you're not in the room. So you do what every human before you has done. You talk, you compare notes, you pass along what you've noticed, and you listen for what other people have noticed too, quietly building a shared, distributed memory of who can be trusted that no single person could ever hold alone. So the next time you catch yourself telling a friend that a coworker took credit for someone else's work, or quietly warning someone that a mutual acquaintance can't be trusted with a secret, you're not engaging in some shameful petty habit that has nothing to do with anything important, something to feel guilty about or apologize for. You're doing exactly what someone sitting by a fire tens of thousands of years ago did the moment they leaned over and whispered what they'd seen behind the rocks. You're running the same tool your species built to survive in groups too large to watch everyone at once, the same tool that quietly decided, without a single confrontation, without a single raised voice, that a man named Kale could no longer be fully trusted with the hunt, and that decision, passed mouth to ear around a dying fire, is still exactly how trust gets built and broken today.